Good morning. Good morning. Let me get myself up on Abstract too. All right, let's start that stream. Start. And let's just make sure we're live. I don't see it yet. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. So, welcome. Welcome. Hope your Saturday is going great and is awesome. Mine is just beginning. And how cool is that, right? So I hope it's a good weekend for you as well. I'm going to just pop up Abstract on my phone so I can pay attention to what's happening here. And then also, also be able to log in via phone. And I think we are in. We are in. We are in. View my stream. Awesome. Okay. So welcome. Great to have you here. My name is Fred Endy. I'm one of the co-founders of Spredict. Spredict is an evolved predictive gaming platform. And our goal is to provide players with the opportunity to make predictions in a way that feels a little bit different. Hold on, let me shift that. There we go. And so Spredict is built on a number of cornerstones, three in fact, though I guess if you're talking about cornerstones, there should be four, you know. But there were three main elements to our foundation, and maybe I'll think of a fourth while I chat. One is that we are designed to provide a different way of thinking about predictive gaming. Now, in most predictive gaming experiences or structures, you go, you make a prediction, maybe you can make that prediction for free, or you pay to make it. And you pay per prediction that you make. Spredict is designed to be a bit of the Spotify or Amazon Prime of predictive gaming. To use Spredict and compete for prizes, you pay a monthly subscription fee, which provides you with access to games within the category of sport or non-sport for that period of time. So you're not paying multiple times to make multiple picks. You are not paying per game or event that you are involved in. Rather, you are picking per time period that you want to participate. And that can be for a month, it can be for an entire season. You know, some sports, of course, have closed seasons, others run over the course of the year. You decide how long you want to play and for what period of time. Right? So that's one of the elements of who we are at Spredict. We're also built around games that are different. The games we create operate differently than your standard predictive gaming structures. You don't just pick the winner. There are other elements built into our games that allow you to pick the winner and engage in something else. And we'll make our UFC picks in just a few minutes. And I'll show you the structure within our DApp. Thirdly, we're designed to be engagement focused. So projects, lounges who want to utilize Predict structure just work with us to build out custom pools, and we do that. And then the fourth piece is we're designed to be expansive. There are so many sports and non-sports opportunities that exist that we are built to continue to allow people to engage in the experiences that they're most passionate about and make them most happy. And so that's just a quick look at who we are at Spredict. And so what we're going to do is use a short Spredict Live kind of structure, which we run every week for UFC, soon for F1, and then more sports as we continue to grow, with walking people through the use of our app and then making some predictions. So I'm going to pull up the Spredict DApp, and should you want to give it a go, right, you can see just down at the bottom, right, our link to access our DApp and make your picks, dap.spredict.io is what you'll utilize. And I'm going to pull it up now. And then I'll share my screen, we'll take a look, and we'll make some picks. So let me do that. Let's share. I go window. Okay. So you should now be looking at our DApp. And I'm just going to disconnect my wallet because I also want to show you how easy it is to connect. Okay. So here we go, approving. Okay, so that's it, right? You'll see in the upper right-hand corner, you'll be able to approve and disapprove your wallet. It's a very simple wallet connect. Here we go. All right, we're going to disconnect again right now. Okay, and then just to show you real quick at how simple it is, we're going to connect again. All right, so here we go, approve, right? It costs next to nothing to do that, right? We approve, and then there it is, right? And so we can disconnect at any time as makes sense. Just to walk you through the DApp real quickly, you'll see on the left-hand side the various games that we are working on and elements that we are working on. First now, we've got Face Off, right, as our game, which we're going to walk through in a moment. Finish Style, which is a game that we are building out, connected to how different fights wrap up. Formula One games, we have one called Clash of Champions, which will be live soon. And then we'll be building out another game as well. And we're also working on the crypto feature of our DApp, which will allow you to make price and market cap predictions for those who would rather engage in predictions around non-sports. You'll notice towards the bottom over that portion of our DApp, there's a rewards tab where you'll be able to access what you've earned in prizes. You'll also see down at the bottom where it says get your Spredict pass. That's where you'll end up minting Spredict passes once they are live and paying for a use of time in order to play, right? And so basically the way it works, it's not, I use the term mint, but in reality, what you're doing is you're paying for access. And you'll be able to pay in a variety of different currencies at some point after we have launched, including your SPI tokens, which will be our native tokens, as well as a variety of different other forms of currency to be determined. So if you look at the structure of the DApp itself, you've got the event you're participating in, past results, which will be live soon, leaderboard, which will become active if you have a monthly pass, and then, of course, the pools to pick from. And you can see past pools as well, right? This is where those results will be shared. Right now it just says round completed, right? But you can see the various pools that we've had scrolling all the way back to our first UFC on January 19th. Okay, maybe it was January 9th, all the way through last week, right, for UFC 315. And then here is our fight night for the week. And so to use the DApp, it's very, very simple. You'll simply make a selection, and then you'll lock in your picks. And as I shared at the start, it's not just simply making your picks, right? You'll see that there are little stars, right, above the fighter's ranking at the moment. And those stars represent where the favorites are at this point in time. So let's say, for instance, that everybody believes Burns will win. I don't personally, but let's say that that's where the majority of people make their picks. That little star will appear over Burns. Now, if you are participating in our Spredict Pass monthly prize pools, then if you were to pick Burns and be correct, you'd earn 1 point, let's say. But if you pick Morales and Morales wins, you've made an underdog pick. And for that, you'd earn double the amount of points. So our goal is to build in additional game theory and structures into how we play. Because what our hope is that people will begin to see that making these selections requires more than a simple A or B pick. And for us, that's incredibly important to building out a Spredict ecosystem that feels different and also encourages people to think. So let's take a look at our picks for the month, or the week, I should say. Let me just pull this up. Awesome. And then I want to grab my my notes and pick selection for this week. So first thing to know, for those of you who are new or newer to UFC, UFC events are often built around a fight night or a special type of event, and then usually monthly UFC main fights, right? And so we are in a transition week with a fight night, which often means that the fighters who are engaged in matches are often building their careers as opposed to kind of like the big stars that you might see at a UFC 316 or something like that, right? So this event's taking place at UFC's main facility in Las Vegas. They have their Apex facility, which is where a lot of the fight night fights take place. The main UFCs often happen around the world, right? And so the main event for today basically pits Gilbert Burns against Michael Morales. No, not Miles Morales, right? It's not Spider-Man, but I do believe his nickname is Spidey, right? And so, which is kind of funny too. Gilbert Burns is a fighter. He's put in already 30 fights, right? So he has a fairly lengthy career. Burns is from Brazil, right? And Morales, right, is a much stronger, in my opinion, fighter going into this fight. And I'll share a little bit about why. One, Morales is 17-0. And again, sometimes record only tells us so much. This is a good opportunity for Morales to really test his long-term development, right? Burns is more seasoned and is more of a veteran within the UFC formula. Morales is favored heavily, right? And so Vegas thinks this fight is pretty much in the bag. It's actually a really interesting main event selection because a lot of times the fights with the largest odds tend to happen further down the card, right? It's rare for a main event to have an odd split like this. But I also believe it's an opportunity for Morales to really test his skill set against a fighter who is more seasoned and a little higher up in the welterweight division rankings. So why is Morales favored so highly? Well, he is 13 years younger than Burns, right? And age doesn't always play a factor, but my way of thinking is if you're close to a decade younger than your opposing fighter, right, and you have a decent amount of skill as a fighter yourself, that decade, or in this case more, does make a significant difference on your stamina, right? Your ability to take hits and your ability to deliver them. He also has a full 8 inches of additional reach, right? So it's entirely possible for Morales to keep Burns fairly much at bay, right? 8 inches, that is a ridiculous amount of reach advantage. Their fighting kind of abilities beyond that are fairly close, right? They show significant levels of accuracy in their significant strikes, their takedown accuracy. The other part is, too, that Burns is at a really tough part in his career. Took a tough loss to Bilal Muhammad, was knocked out by JDM, right? And then a loss to Sean Brady. So the thing is, Burns is fighting the big fighters. The problem is he's not winning any of these fights, right? So he can hit hard, can be sloppy in the octagon, if you watch some of his fights. Morales, on the other hand, his trajectory seems opposite, right? And often these fight nights are used to test whether those trajectories are really true. But Morales can fight impressive jabs, throw his elbows really well, can ground and pound. He can be tough to hit. It's kind of like his namesake, right? As a spider, very agile. And the other thing I really like, and again, Morales hasn't fought the caliber of fighters that Burns has fought yet. But what I really like is Morales enters every fight seemingly as if it might be his last, right? His intensity in the octagon is significant, right? So a win tonight starts to move him up into the upper echelon of the welterweight division, something that he'll need to be doing if he really sees himself as a future contender. And with a 17-0 record, you have to believe that's what he's hoping for. I can't comment on Burns' long-term potential. I just don't know how much longer he's going to want to do this. I do, though, see this fight going to Morales without question, right? Raising up his ranking maybe to below 10, starting to get Morales some of the fighters that will really be a test for him. I don't know if he'll see a knockout. This may be a fight that really does go the distance, but I do see a decisive victory in Morales' favor. I just see him at a point in his career where he's got all of the pieces he needs in order to win. Right, so as you'll see, I clicked on Morales. That purple box means that my pick has been registered, and we're going to move on to our light heavyweight category. Now, this fight to me is the least interesting on the card. Rodolfo Bellato, Brazil, he's 12-2-1, is up against Paul Craig of Scotland, 17-9-1. Bellato is heavily favored here, unlike the previous fight, which I still think will go to Morales. It just may be one that goes the distance. I don't see that happening here. Bellato's younger. T's got like 20 some odd pounds on Paul Craig. Is more accurate on takedowns, significant strikes. Bellato is a big fighter, right? Flattened Potiera with a whole bunch of fists when they fought. And the thing is with Bellato, too, of course, like some of the bigger fighters, they hit hard, but they fall hard, too, right? Bellato is new to UFC, right? He's only fought in 2 fights since becoming a contender, win and a draw. Like I said, he's only 29, so certainly a younger fighter. He's only ever lost to one fighter, Vitor Petrino, who he fought twice, right, and lost to twice. So Bellato has been impressive against most of the fighters he's squared off against. Craig's lost 4 of his last 5. His one win over that 5 fight string was a powerful KO where he was throwing heavy elbows that would have dropped everyone. I don't see him as a super effective hitter. I think that his elbows don't always land particularly well. I don't find him to be incredibly strong with his fists, unlike Bellato. But he is effective via submission, right? It's an area of finishes that he has shown to be really tactical around. So he's actually probably one of the more submission-heavy fighters I've seen fight, certainly in the light heavyweight division. The problem that I see here is I just don't think Craig is going to get the chance to do that against a younger, heavier, and more effective striker like Bellato. I think it's unlikely that Craig will be able to get Bellato into a submission position. Instead, I think Bellato is going to pound the hell out of Craig, knock him down, cause him to tap out, and that'll be it. I just think he's better. And so of the four, this is one where I definitely would, if we were playing our finishing style game, I would certainly take Bellato for something other than a decision in this fight, and therefore likely a KO. I just don't know if Bellato has the experience in UFC to be submitting UFC fighters, particularly one like Craig, who is so strong with the submission as a form of victory. So we move on to our lightweight battle. So Sadiq Youssef of Nigeria, 13-4, facing off against Myron Santos from Brazil, 16-1. Santos is the favorite, but only slightly. In fact, it's pretty close to an even line. The low odds stems from the fact that both fighters bring similar physical characteristics. Both are at kind of interesting points in their career. Santos is 24, so he's a fighter who has started very, very young, right? He's 7 years younger than Youssef, who is still a young fighter, right? Sadiq can punch. I mean, if you watch this guy fight, you can see that he has some really, really mean jabs, some solid lefts and rights, right? Uppercuts. He's mobile, but he's not really the most agile of fighters. In the last 5 fights he has recorded, he's been all over the place. He's won 2, lost 3, right? So he's at kind of a weird point in his career stream. He does happen to be a KO-focused fighter, and oftentimes many fighters, right, who deliver really strong punches lean towards knockouts, which can be good or bad. He stays away from submissions, right? Clearly is much more comfortable hitting someone to knock them down and just beating them until they tap out. Santos had an amazing fight against Guillermo Torres last summer. That was his entry to UFC. He's had 2 fights since being in the program. He's done incredibly well. He had a big win, UFC 313. A win against Youssef here will continue to show that Santos, as a young fighter, has a very, very long career ahead of him. Even though the odds are not particularly high, I am going to take Santos here. I think that of the two, he's the fighter who's got the greatest amount of potential at this point in his career. I think it will be a tough battle. I think it will end up going to decision. But I'm excited to see what Santos can do against the Nigerian. And then for our last battle, puts United States fighter against a Brazilian. We've got Julian Rosa from the United States, who is 31-12, right? A significantly strong fighting record, right? That's 43 fights, so a true veteran. Head-to-head against Melquizal Costa, right? He from Brazil, 23-7, also incredibly impressive. Vegas likes Costa to win this one. Both of these fighters are really happy to be grounding and pounding as they are upright. Both have really, really strong, significant strike and takedown values. I see a lot of attempted and I'm sure successful takedowns happening here. Now, Costa is younger. He's only 28, which is amazing considering he has 30 fights logged as a 28-year-old. Arosa is 35. Arosa is 3 inches taller with 3 inches of additional reach. So physical characteristics may be in Arosa's favor. Arosa is a skilled finisher. He has high submission and KO rates, rarely goes to decision. He fights hard. He uses his arms and legs incredibly effectively. He's had a solid string of his last 3 fights and is on an uptrend. Costa has won his last 3 fights as well, right? So both of these fighters are in a really interesting position. Costa, skilled submitter, knockdown fighter as well. Fought 2 fights so far in 2025, which is amazing, right? And this will be his 3rd. So you think about that. Since January, this guy has gone in the ring or will be going in the ring 3 times. That's impressive. And his hair is impressive as well. These 2 guys know how to fight. With Arosa's submission skill, originally my thinking was I was going to go with the American, but the thing is, I can't fade the multi-haired Costa. Is just as skilled, maybe even more so. I do think one of these 2 guys will end up submitting the other. I'm going to go with Vegas and Vegas's pick behind Costa and lock him in. So what's really funny is I've got 3 Brazilian picks, right, with the only non being for the main event. So now, once you've made your picks, you can validate your prediction. You'll click to bring up a transaction approval. I'm going to approve it now to lock in my picks. And then if I want to check, all I really have to do is refresh the screen, right? And what that should do is it should pick up and lock in my picks. I can scroll down to make sure they're there. And then I'm good to go, right? So I'm going to stop sharing, right? But that is the way that you utilize the Spredict app. Really very simple. Lots of opportunities to make picks, to connect, to enjoy using what we've built. Again, my name is Fred Endy. I'm one of the co-founders of Spredict. We put these prediction plays and Spredict Live, make them available every week for UFC. A couple weeks ago, I was 4 out of 5 picks. Last week, I was 2 out of 4. This week, I'm certainly hoping for a 3 or a 4 out of 4 in my picks. Wish you the best of luck, too, in your UFC predictions, and have an awesome rest of your Saturday, Sunday, or, whatever your day is, right, as we wrap up get started, rather, with this weekend. So enjoy, and see you soon.